Hey guys, Kelade here. Now that patch 7.2 is upon us and I've been playing it for the past 2 nights, I wanted to give you guys my first impressions of the patch so far. Now, let me preface this by saying I was hyped for this patch. I got everything ready, right? I had my artifact path planned out. You guys saw that video. I got all my emissaries done, queued up my order hall quest I gave AP, queued up my follower tokens, and I even logged on in the same exact position that Khadgar spawned so I can get going ASAP. Initially, everything was great. I went to work. I queued up AK-27 on my phone right away, so I wasn't going to be behind. Came back, logged on, started doing the quest, got the 3 quest line. Everything was looking good, and after around 15 to 30 minutes, it was done. I mean, the quest content. I thought there was going to be more quest content. There's so many things that are rep gated. You can't do your class hall stuff. Now, as far as the quests, we had like 3 mini quests, and then we had around 4 world quests on the map. For how much content that was kind of promised to us and was going to be pushed, that felt very lackluster in that regard. Now, the tagging of mobs was also crazy while you're doing it. Not only are the mobs going to be faction tagged, but also there was a limited amount of people within a home faction that could tag it. Oftentimes, I see 3 players hitting a mob. I would be the fourth person, but it was already grayed out for me. So, of course, I don't know what situation is causing that, but it definitely felt very shitty when I was walking around and I just couldn't get any credit for anything done because everything was tagged. And there were some issues around quest markers on the minimap and just a general confusion of what to do. There's that one quest where Khadgar asks you to kill somebody, but the quest marker's on himself without and not actually where the quest is should be done. Oh, and by the way, for my fellow Fury Warriors, if you guys are doing your quest to unlock your new traits, the order is middle left, middle right, and back right. And those are the 3 that you need for the runes. Now, kind of speaking about quests and world quests, I do want to kind of talk about world quest mobs a little bit, right? I think everybody has heard about this just from many sources already, so I'll cover it really quickly. But Blizzard, I think the way that they handled this, the fact that, initially in the previous patch that they mentioned that there's no way they're going to increase and have mobs scale with your lie level, and now that they've gone on a complete 180 and did the complete opposite, I think Blizzard should have just came out and just apologized for what it is. Now, I don't necessarily agree with it. I think that if we're fully decked out in 925 gear, right, you're a Mythic Raider, you come out to World Quest, yeah, you should be able to obliterate the mobs because you are much stronger than them. But I think Blizzard saw an issue with, us gathering up 30 mobs and Odin spearing them all in one GCD and killing them all. I can see that from their perspective, but I think they should have been more understanding of the player base and how that would affect us and how that does feel a little bit shitty to us to have that power that we've earned essentially be diminished a little bit. Now, as a lot of you guys are probably aware, there are a lot of bugs that happen with this patch. One big bug that happened in the beginning of the patch that unfortunately our EU friends, you guys couldn't take advantage of was the Kara extra loot. And what that was the Mythic Plus in Kara, if you were doing lower or upper Kara, when you finished the Mythic Plus, and you went out of the dungeon, you would get mailed an additional AP token and an additional gear. Now, that gear is not 100% confirmed to always happen, but I got it every time. If you walk out and you check your mailbox, you'll have an additional token and an additional piece of gear from that other Kara dungeon mailed to you. So I was able to get essentially 2 free AP tokens and 2 free pieces of gear. Now, Blizzard did hotfix this really quickly. So by our third Kara run, this is already fixed. So unfortunately, if you were in EU, you didn't get some of that free Kara loot. Now, some other bugs, of course, all the bosses and all the raids, right? Trilliax beams, the animation was moving, but the beam wasn't moving, but then the animation beam still happened. So eventually you just died on Trilliax because you ran out of space. Elasan invisible rings, and there were myriads of other bugs in other raids too. So it's kind of confusing as to exactly what caused all these bugs because it's not, Blizzard just trying to tune Nine-Hole bosses. There's old raids that are affected too by this. And as I'm making this video, it's currently on my time is Thursday. Elasan is still bugged, and unfortunately, it's really, really shitty for guilds, especially our guild, who's on Elasan progression, and we just can't do the counter. We can't do the progression because you literally hit phase 2, and your raiders just die, because the rings are just invisible rings that aren't even moving. So, guilds in our position that are essentially, either 8 out of 10 or beyond are kind of stuck with how we're going to progress and also essentially farm the raid. So, right, we had to go back to do Mythic TOV, do heroic modes. I don't even know what we'll do tonight if it's not fixed by tonight. There's also massive bugs with skills not working, right? You guys have DKs whose Cinder Ghostless Fury sometimes doesn't even do damage. You have Paladins and Vine Storm not doing damage. I'm sure there's a lot of other bugs that people just aren't noticed it yet, but that is an issue. Like, how are so many class skills that shouldn't be affected are all affected? It seems kind of weird. Also, kind of going back to the World Quest point a little bit, I hope you guys like Mage Tower because you're getting it. Now, the way that Blizzard implemented the three kind of buildings that you can do, I understand their reasoning for it, but it does feel really shitty if you do not care about artifact appearance. Now, for me, I personally really do want Mage Tower because I really do want that Fury artifact weapon, but if you were going for reroll coins, that tower, that's not going to get built until way after the mage tower is built. Luckily, Blizzard did seem to increase the construction rate on this, so hopefully this is going to be improved in the future. Now, I think not only is the bosses, in raids and Mythic Plus is bugged, but it's also there's just so many undocumented changes that we're not even aware of what is a bug, right? Initially, people thought, oh, Odin's balls being increased size in Mythic Plus in Halls of Valor, that was a bug, but that's a change that assumably Blizzard wanted to make, right? There's so many changes that are a little bit unfortunate, especially because since they're not undocumented, there's no way for us to prepare for it unless we read somewhere else or experience it ourselves. And that's a horrible experience because one is we all have a planned route of how we do a dungeon, right? We have an idea about how a dungeon is going to go, what mechanics are in a boss, what do we need for different phases of the fight. Now, when Blizzard throws in mechanics like that we're not able to plan, that throws a big hamper. A big example is in Quarter Stars, that first boss. So on that boss, you purposefully don't want to get all of the beacons, right? Because if you get all of the beacons, then you might trigger the extra RP. Now there's some other criteria for that, but one of the criteria to trigger that extra RP at the end of Quarter Stars, which wastes a lot of time, is to not get all the beacons, right? That will automatically fail you for the RP. So what we do is that we just leave 2 beacons up, and then 2 ads get summoned, and it's not a big deal, right? But Blizzard added a mechanic where now those 2 ads do a cast that stuns your party, and both of them do it, right? So ideally, you would only have 1 beacon up and only spawn 1 ad and stun him, but nobody know about this, and we ended up wiping on the run, and we ended up being 30 seconds late from a 3 chest. And that definitely does feel really shitty from a player perspective that we're getting hit by things that we're not aware are there. And that's just another thing to tack on to, don't make content hard because we just don't know what's happening, right? Make content hard because it's challenging, because it's something that we can actively see and try to overcome. But when things are hidden and it's more of a surprise, like, hey, here's this mechanic you never knew about coming at you, that definitely feels very shitty. And in regards to that, I kind of want to talk about the nameplate add-ons. As you guys may or may not know, nameplate add-ons like tidy plates, BD nameplates, KUI nameplates that did all of the change of friendly target nameplates so your group members can have their class color and their name over the heads. On places like Star Augur, it puts a really easy to tell icon over the head when they have Grand Conjunction. That has been gone in 7.2 and that is no longer available. And it's really shitty because now you're doing Grand Conjunction with Blizzard's UI, which yeah, it's okay to do, but it's not really clear, right? Especially if you get the orange and you have the red markers, it's kind of hard to tell at first, right? The mechanic becomes less of, hey, this is the guy you want to match, you want to reach him, and more about, am I actually orange or is my color red, right? And then I think that gets into a little bit of gray area about how they want their content to be, essentially challenging. And I think making things hard to understand for the player is not the way to do it. Not only that, but there are a lot of boss mechanics that you were able to DPS beforehand, and this kind of goes back in that power curve thing, how strong you make your character and how you're able to progress in fights. Blizzard is seeing this, and they're seeing that a lot of players are essentially out gearing some of their content, and they're doing things that are negating mechanics, such as they're putting that cast time of Helya's little breath down the side of the boats earlier in Maw of Souls, just to incentivize the mechanic, I guess, so you are forced to do it, right? Because initially or ideally, what we do in Maw of Souls is we kill a tentacle so fast that that mechanic is a non-issue for us. And it's kind of weird how Blizzard wants to do this, right? Because there's kind of a gray area there. It's like, well, we are purposely building our characters for maximum burst up front so we can skip these middle mechanics. And I think Blizzard is kind of enforcing the way that you have to play the game rather than how you want to play the game. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about this, but I definitely don't like that idea. I do recommend that Blizzard give us a little bit of freedom in how we do encounters, right? You have a mechanic, if somebody is able to push past the mechanic through some ways and not be able to force the mechanic, they're obviously sacrificing some things to make that the case, right? And that's kind of like my complaints about the patch so far. The patch is okay. I mean, we're essentially right back to Mythic Plus grinding. The content that was promised for us, all this new content that's coming in 7.2, there's not really that much. I mean, for me, I think for most raiders, all we're seeing is, yeah, now we can farm Kara for Mythic Plus. Now we can farm Cathedral for Mythic Plus. That's another thing. Why the hell is Cathedral so much harder than other dungeons of the same difficulty? It is not tuned correctly. A +8 had us wiping for I think over an hour, where we can do a +10 Arcway in like 25 minutes. It's not even close. And Arcway gives us more AP anyways because it's a longer dungeon. So it's kind of weird with how the new dungeons are working. It doesn't seem like it's tuned properly. It doesn't seem like it was tested properly. And I think Blizzard really needs to get those in check, right? You got people that are wiping for hours and hours on just a +10 of Cathedral, where you can just easily stomp +10s of the older dungeons that were already in the game. But thank you guys for sticking along to the video. And kind of as a tip for staying along the video, there is this vendor here in Dollar One who sells you this item, which you can use every 7 days. And it will give you a follower token or an item that you can give to your followers. And in that item, it has an additional chance of it being like a rare, epic, or legendary item. So this is a really good way to farm for this pouch. Now this pouch gives you an AP token currently for every world quest you complete, which is absurdly broken. The AP token that you currently get is 500,000 AP. Now, if you have this follower item and you have a companion, you are going to be miles and miles above everybody else in AP gains. It will just be crazy. So check out this vendor out on Dollar One. If you have the 50 curious coins, buy it. Use the item, see if you can get it. And of course, every 7 days you can use the item again for another chance. Now I'm pretty sure that this thing will get nerfed. So if you guys are able to get lucky and get this thing right away before Blizzard nerfs it, take advantage of that as much as you can. Because this isn't even an exploit. This is how the item works. Whereas the Kara thing before was kind of an exploit. So I highly recommend that you guys do this if you guys can. Now I think Blizzard kind of heard of all my complaints. So I'll leave you guys with this video. But of course, as always, thank you guys for watching the video. Feel free to subscribe to the channel to see more warrior content. And as always, yeah, functionality is gone. I might just go back to tidy nameplates. See what we get here. Let me use this first. Yes! Yes! Oh my god! I got the fucking belt. Let's fucking go! Yes!